I'm Nick Cerio, and I'm back again with the second video on Kenpo hands. Now, the last video we showed you some basic self-defense movements. We explained about circular blocks, their purposes, their good points and weak points. So now what we're going to do with this video is go into more into the intermediate type techniques and advance. Try to remember when doing these techniques, it's very important to know the mechanics of what you're doing. Don't try to incorporate any speed and power into the technique until you have fully understood the mechanics. Now, what I mean about the mechanics is the direction, transition, focus. These are all important points when you're dealing with self-defense. Also, when you're doing these techniques, you must be very careful for your ukis, your partners. Although some of the techniques don't appear to be dangerous, they are. You will see by the expression of the people that I use that there is some pain being applied or being received by these ukis. It's almost impossible to demonstrate the techniques without putting a little pressure on the vulnerable parts of the body. So make sure you're very careful with these techniques. The techniques that you're going to see are also very simple, but yet very dangerous. You'll see I will demonstrate techniques from the straight punch, from the roundhouse punch, from double punches, right and left punches, from low punches and high punches. I will demonstrate techniques from headlocks, side headlocks, front headlocks. I will also demonstrate techniques from rear grabs, from front wrist grabs, chokes. I will demonstrate these techniques as simple as I can so that you, the viewer, will be able to understand what you're doing. As the opponent comes in with a roundhouse punch, you're going to step out, avoid the power of the punch, strike to the throat with the middle knuckle punch. From here, you step in, wrap around, grabbing his chin, push his shoulder out, and pull down with the chin. And at this point, you can do whatever you have to do. 1, 2. Tiger climbing the mountain. From here, it's block, block, clawing all the way down from the face, down to the groin, ripping up to the groin again to finish up the technique. At this point, you can easily take your opponent down. Yeah, up. Up. Against an overhead punch, step out to avoid, execute an upward block to the elbow. From here, follow through to the rib cage, wrap around, grab the face, you're clawing, and pulling straight down, clawing the face to finish off the job. Right. Up. Up. Straight in punch or even a grab. You're stepping back, pressing down to redirect the power of the punch, striking to the inside of the wrist, back fist to the face, striking here, side knife hand strike to the back of the neck. Okay, this is a very dangerous technique. You want to be very careful with it. As the opponent grabs you, He's trying to strike. Make your block. This is a strike to the side of his face. At this point, you have him locked here. His grip is going to help you break the arm. You apply pressure on the elbow and just keep this arm nice and straight, and that allows you to make the break for his arm. Please be very careful with this. It's a very dangerous technique. Up. Okay, this situation is against a grab. We use the circular movements. That's what's nice about Kenpo. We use a small circle. As the opponent grabs, he tries to punch, so we circle our hand up, stops the punch, bury a punch right to his rib cage. At this point, he lets go. Nice elbow to the back of the neck. Come right down with a knife hand strike also to the back of the neck. In this situation, we got a defense against a roundhouse punch. As we punch, we step back, but we also execute a tiger mouth strike to the throat. Follow right through with an elbow to the chest area. From here, wrap around, grab the chin, spin the opponent around and down. Be very careful with this technique because you can cause a lot of damage to the neck area. Up. At this point here, I'm going to execute a technique against a roundhouse punch again. This time we're going to absorb. This is called retreating and attacking. As the opponent comes in with the punch, we go back with our block as if we're running away. We immediately spin around with a back fist to his face, follow through with a punch to the heart. Up. Again, try to be very careful on some of these techniques as to where you hit. You be very careful when you hit to the heart or to the sternum. A lot of times it looks like I'm hitting hard. I'm not really hitting that hard. I kind of pull my punches, so please be careful when you execute these techniques on an opponent. Okay. As the opponent steps in and grab your wrist, you're going to shift back, headbutt him to the sternum or any part of the chest area. Pivot your body and bring your right shoulder to his outside. Stepping in, place your right hand on his shoulder, bring your right arm up and over the back of his shoulder, apply pressure, and he will go right down and you have him in control. This is a good technique if you want to hold someone at bay without hurting them. Okay, this next technique is against an overhead blow. So here we redirect, strike, we immediately drop, punch right to the groin area. At this point, apply pressure just above the knee, and at the same time place the right hand to the back of the right ankle. Apply pressure here by picking up. At this point, grab the foot, stepping over once more, locking the leg, punching at the spine. Again, be very careful of this technique. Up, Jeff. Especially here, place the leg forward. Especially here when you're applying the pressure here, because you can break here. You can do a lot of damage here, so be very careful during practice. Okay? Have your opponent kind of move back, shift his weight back as you do this so he doesn't get hurt. This technique is against a straight-in punch. What we do, as soon as we see the opponent getting ready to punch, we immediately go to our left with a left parry, bring the right arm up to strike the elbow, grabbing the wrist, striking the arm again while it's in an arm bar, so we create a break. From here, we just let the hand go up into the throat. Be very careful here, because when the opponent's bending down from the arm break, you can cause a lot of damage. So be careful on this strike here. From here, just break the balance of his right leg, spin around, execute a side stomp kick to his throat area. What we're doing here, this is a self-defense technique against a low and high punch. We're going to slide back into a cat stance to do the first, to block the first punch. Immediately come up to block the second punch. Right to the face, left thrust punch to the face. That's all that's needed in this one. Up. This next technique is against a side headlock. Okay, grab. As the opponent grabs, don't try to resist him. Go with him. Strike to the groin, which will release the grip. Nice reverse knife hand to the throat. Sword hand to the collarbone area. This is called three swords. Up. Okay, this is against a side headlock. As the opponent grabs you, again, you go with him, strike to the groin, which releases the grip, grab the back of his head by pulling his hair or his garment, take your right leg, bend, and knock him off balance, pull him down, keep him near you as you come in with strikes to the throat. 1, 2. If you needed to hold this person or really secure him, you would take the arm in this manner here, just roll over. You would roll him over and lock him in place if you had to do something like that. That's an option. This is defense against a front headlock. As the opponent grabs you, again, never try to resist a headlock. Try to, go with the flow. As a person grabs you, go in, relax, make the strike to the groin. That loosens up. As you after the strike, place your left hand below his knee. Make another strike to the groin at the same time. Pull him over. As the opponent throws a roundhouse punch, you're going to block the punch, but keep him moving by spinning around. Keep his momentum going. Lock his arm, grab him by the throat, place him down to the floor, apply pressure here, and lock the arm at the same time. Again, try to be very careful with these techniques. Okay, okay, spinning sword consists of a block against a roundhouse punch, coming in with a claw, spin around. There's the first sword. There's the second sword. One, two, up. This is called, actually, this is batter and ram. Here, opponent executes a high overhead blow. You do an X block. Tries to throw a punch in the stomach. Come down with a palm block. Roundhouse punch, circular block. Ram him in the chest. Batter and ram into the chest. Yes. Okay, we call this one rotating destruction. We rotate and destroy, so that's where we come up with our name, rotating destruction. Person comes up to you and spins around you to try to catch you off guard. At the same time, he grabs you. First thing you do is you want to stomp his foot, or there's options here. You can either hit to the groin too, but the best way is stomping the foot. That loosens up the grip. Step out, raising the arms up to further loosen things up. Elbow to the sternum, hammer fist to the groin, and from here, a nice back fist, which would go to his face. Kick to the groin if you need it. Cover stance. This next technique, which is called buckling branch, is against a straight punch. We sidestep and block, grab. We execute a kick to the back of the knee, which takes the knee to the floor. Execute a punch to the head. From here, we break the neck. Follow up with a punch if needed. Note that I have his leg under control by placing my knee here so that he can't attack me with that leg. Up. Oh, yes! Okay, this next one we call hammer and vice. It's against a choke. The idea here is as the opponent places his hands around your neck to choke, you step back, you place a punch to his chest, bring the right hand outside of his right arm, make a circle, step into it, grab hold of his wrist, smash the elbow. This is the vice, this is the hammer. Hammer and vice. Okay. Okay, this next one's called praying mantis kicks. As the opponent grabs your wrist, go back with him. Execute a front kick to the groin area. Turn your hands to his outside. That will help to release and strike to the ears. This here represents the praying mantis. Good boy. All right, this next technique is called bending tree. As the opponent comes in with a roundhouse punch, step back to absorb the power and block. Execute a front kick, instep kick to his groin. Come down with a downward elbow strike to his spine. This is called helping hand. As the opponent grabs you, he tries to throw a punch. Step away from the punch with a block. Strike to the face to help release the grip. That the opponent has on you. At that point, place your right hand down over his hand. Make a circle to get him into an arm bar. Place your thumb around his thumb and just pivot his arm around. Place his elbow to your armpit. At this point, the further he gets up, the more pain that he will feel. Again, be very careful with this here, because you've got him on the wrist, you got the elbow, you got the shoulder. You can cause a lot of pain into the brain, okay, because it goes right up to the brain, okay? And from here, you can do anything you want. You have them. Yep. This time, opponent steps in, he grabs both your wrists. You step back with him. Drive your right hand down as if you was driving it towards the ground. That will release the grip. From here, step in with an elbow to his chest. Do an arm break, and then at this point, lock the arm, knife hand strike to the back of the neck. If need to, you can take him all the way to the ground at this point. This technique is called capture twigs. Okay? Opponent comes in with an overhead strike. This is redirecting and striking the elbow. Come in again with another strike to the elbow. Strike to the rib cage, floating rib cage. Drop down and strike with your left forearm to the back of his knee or the side. This takes him down. Pick up the foot, slam the knee down on the floor, lock the leg in place, grab him up here if you can reach him. If you can't, just execute a punch anyways to the spinal cord. Okay, as the opponent comes in with a straight punch, we slide back, we do a trap and block. From here, execute a kick to the groin. Place pressure on his right shoulder with your left hand. That places him down. This would be a kick, but we'll just come around and lock the arm, break it by holding it into an arm bar, spin around to the opponent, execute a front kick to the chest area, and cover. Okay, this technique's against a punch and a front choke. As opponent attacks with his punch, step back and block. Step in with a punch to the chest area. Spin around, elbow to his chest, but as you execute that elbow, he grabs you. So immediately press down on his hand and raise up on the elbow and twist into his chest, which will make the release. You now have him into an arm bar. Drive him to the floor. At this point, drive a punch to his back, strike to the groin. I'd like to, at this time, thank my assistant, Jeff, for helping with this video. I'd like to end this tape by performing for you a kata called Circle the Tiger. Now, this form is a combat form. This is where we get a lot of our self-defense techniques from. Now, we have about 25 katas that we do in the Cerio Kenpo system. And this is where the Cerio Kenpo hand techniques come from. This particular form is called Circle the Tiger. It represents a tiger in a circle in his home, and he fights within the circle so that no one can get into the circle. Once someone penetrates the circle, then he's in trouble. So he works in a circle. You'll see punches, claws, low kicks, sweeps, and what we call rising side kicks, which are like a tiger pawing. Okay, it's called Circle the Tiger. The way you're going to become proficient with these techniques is with constant practice. Now, when you see these techniques, you should practice them in sections. Practice the block first. Practice the direction. Break it up. The reason I do them at a moderate speed the first time, and then I do them slow the second time and explain them, is so that you will have time to see and understand everything that's being done. So, take your block and do it about 10 or 15 times. And when you feel comfortable with that block, then take your next movement, whatever it may be, if it's a punch or a kick or a forearm strike or whatever it may be. Take it in sections and practice it. You should practice as much as you possibly can. You can never practice too much. A lot of people see me practice and they say, how come I'm still practicing the basic punch and the basic kick and the basic block? It's because you only become perfect or expert with your technique by constant practice. There's no such thing as enough that you practice enough. You can't practice for 2-3 weeks and say you know your technique. You got to go over and over and over and over again. And even when you become proficient with it, you must still practice it every so often. So it stays there, because it's not a thing that you'll use every day. It's like graduating from high school or college. If you don't do any of that stuff that you practice for 3-4 years, you try to go back to it, you lose it. So it's the same thing with self-defense. So practice, very, very important. The old saying, practice makes perfect, so that's what you have to do. The other thing Stances. Stances are very important when you're doing a technique. It's not just the upper body. If you know in there, when you see the techniques, you're going to notice that I shift over to the side, or I go backwards, or I go forward, but I go according to my opponent's movement. So this is very important. It's like a boxer doing shadow boxing. So make sure that you practice these techniques very carefully. Don't be in a hurry. And I'm sure if you practice properly, you will learn the techniques with no problem at all.